Hi guys, this is Clem here from the online flooring store. You know, one of the questions we commonly get is what's new with hybrid flooring? This category is probably, it's been around for say maybe 5 or 6 years now, maybe even longer. And it sort of hit the industry by storm as every new category does. A bit has changed in the time since it's released. I was with a company called Embleton when we were the first to bring out the WPC hybrids. And then I was with Signature as we and another company called Godfrey Hirst released the first SPC hybrids into the market. A lot has changed since then. There've been a lot of other terms come up, IPC, APC, WPC, core ESPC. These are all terms that are basically centered around those two different categories, the WPC, which is the early aerated core hybrids, and the SPC, which is the solid core hybrid. Well, now there are aerated SPCs, but that's another topic. So what tends to happen in a category is when a product is released, you have a couple of players who bring it in, everyone else watches, they sort of look over the fence, they wait for any bugs to be ironed out, and then they jump in. But unfortunately, what tends to happen is the market gets so congested and cluttered that everyone gets in this price war of driving the quality of the product and the price of the product downwards. And that certainly happened with hybrid, as it has in every other flooring category that's come before it. So what's new in hybrid is it is evolving. Some people are trying out some new things, some successfully, some less so. So we'll have a talk about a couple of those. One is, one of the issues that's been constant with hybrid has been when solid core hybrids were released, everyone was shocked by the weight of the product. So suppliers would have to move this product around. It would cost them a bomb because the product, an 8mm hybrid is typically 2.5 times heavier than an 8mm laminate. So the freight was costing a lot. So there have been moves towards lightening the product. Signature with their hybrids have taken a scallop out of the back and they call it a Liteback. That seems to have worked for them. It's reduced the weight significantly without necessarily reducing the structural integrity of the product. The aerated core has probably been a little less successful, and the terms like IPC, APC have all come about to sort of differentiate them from WPC, which has a bit of stigma attached to it. The challenge, I guess, that these problems will always have in the future is the fact that they're honeycombed, which makes the joints less strong. And when the wear layer is exposed to extreme heat, still being PVC, it does want to grow and shrink. And as we found out with the early SPCs, that when that product wants to grow, it can potentially lift areas of the floor up. So weight stabilizes that. So some of those things, we'll see how they go, but I don't imagine they're going to be too successful. One category that's come out is called ESPC, where they take your SPC core hybrid and they use a layer of vinyl on the top akin to an aerated core product, but they put another one on the bottom. Now, the theory behind that is that, you're going to have these layers top and bottom that counterbalance each other. The challenge with it is you're removing the most stable element, which is the SPC part of the core, and replacing it with something, again, that is temperature sensitive. So, it's not just your wear layer that then becomes temperature sensitive, it's also the vinyl that it's sitting on underneath. One thing that has been quite successful is Clever Choice entered into the market as a hybrid, a product that they called Hybrid Shield initially. Now, it essentially is what they're saying is a waterproof laminate. So they market it as a hybrid, but it's a laminate floor. So it has all of the scratch, stain, and burn resistance of a laminate, but it has, we can't really truly call it waterproof because it has a fiberboard core in it. But for what you can subject it to in your home, you might as well consider it waterproof. Like if your house floods, you've got other things like your walls, your skirtings, your kitchen cabinetry, all that goes, and they're going to replace your floor anyway, regardless of what it is, regardless of how waterproof the floor is. But what you can subject the floor to in daily life, you're going to consider this product waterproof, even though technically we can't possibly call it totally waterproof. But what it then gives you back is the scratch, stain, and burn resistance of a laminate floor, plus it has your underlay built in, as does a hybrid floor. So this, I think, is an area where we're going to move to in the future, where Laminate had an up and a down period, as does every category, as did vinyl, as did bamboo, and as has had hybrid. But that laminate and the hybrid worlds are starting to come together now. You've got a product that's easy to install. It's within the realms of most people to be able to do themselves. And then you've got the scratch, stain, and burn resistance that's always been inherent to laminate flooring that, frankly, hybrid and vinyl just don't have. Another thing that has changed, or not so much changed, but a product to really highlight is some of these hybrids that are getting to quite a large thickness, like 8 and 9.5 millimeter hybrids. It's a really good idea, actually, because what it does is you've got stability comes through weight in the product. So if you've ever felt a 9.5, take for example Terramata's Resi Plank hybrid, you feel that underfoot as opposed to say a 5 millimeter hybrid. There's a very different feel in it because of the weight in the product and the way it sits on your floor harder. Having a thicker hybrid allows you to also machine a far stronger joint into the floor. So, and look, it's not saying that you can have an uneven floor and it's going to cop it. No supplier will let that happen. The reasons that they write subfloor preparation in their warranties is for the structural stability of the product. So don't ignore that. And it's not going to save you regardless of how thick the product is. But what it does do is it gives you a much stronger joint. So we have seen a couple of hybrids have several years into being laid, have had issues with the sides and the joins around the perimeter of the floor, just completely failing. Now, there's this thinking from some suppliers that this is due to water coming up through the slab. And so some of them are now saying put a plastic sheet down between the floor and the subfloor. The jury's out as to the how true that is or isn't. But if the supplier's saying do it, just do it. The plastic sheet isn't going to hurt you. But what it is going to do is help you maintain your warranty. So just look into, there's certain products that you will need to do this in order to keep your warranty. But most others haven't gone down to that place yet. But what I've seen in my investigations is that the products that have a whiter color in the core have been more prone to do this. And typically that's because they have a higher plasticizer content in the core. Now we know that, sun breaks down PVC over time, sun breaks down plastic over time. So that could be as a result of a number of factors, and I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying that it could be as a result of intense sun breaking down the stability of a product that has a higher plastic content in the core. And certainly it happens with products that are thinner as well. So there are a couple of things to look out for in your hybrid floor. But going forward, I think that you're going to see this blending of the hybrid and the laminate world. Hybrid sort of come along, it hit the industry by storm. It did a great job. Like when we're at Signature, we were counting, we look at every category of, what we're selling against what we were replacing. And hybrid was disproportionate to other categories in that we just really didn't have a whole lot of issue with it. There were some issues and they were big, but we identified them pretty well straight away, and were able to then adapt the product within the first year or two to stabilize them and stop those issues happening going forward. So, and they were very proactive with that. I think Signature's approach was really, really good. Others just sort of looked over the fence, and when you had a problem, they would always put it back onto the installer or put it back onto the site or that sort of thing without really understanding the product. So I think going forward, these laminates are tried and tested category that had a degree of failure, and they had to learn and had to evolve and had to adapt. Now, bringing that sort of new technology and merging it with the hybrid, where you've got these, highly water resistant products that have the underlay built in, you're probably going to see those two realms come together, even though they'll be really truly separate products. The category is probably going to morph into one. So, I'd say going forward, have a look at those. Clever Choices, they brought it out under the name of Hybrid Shield. It's now called Shield Everlast. So on our website, you'll find it under Clever Choice in laminates, and Shield Everlast is the product. Brilliant product that's also used as a digital printing technology. So your pattern repeat goes from what's typical in a hybrid of 1 in 8 or 1 in 10, depending on whether you're a narrow or a wider board, to over 1 in 30. So it means that your patterns aren't repeating themselves anywhere near as much on the floor. But as we go forward, you see some companies now are doing a thicker SPC with an aerated core. So how they aerate the core is they add a foaming agent in when they're building the core or extruding the core, which basically turns it from a solid block of chocolate into an aerobar. So they're doing this to make the product thicker but lighter at the same time, because everyone likes a bigger number. And people are running around now saying, I want my hybrid at least 8 millimeters. Well, this is a really good way to create a lighter product with the perception of it still being an SPC. It's still having everything you'd expect from an 8mm SPC, but aerating it and making the product essentially cheaper and lighter. So just look out for that, because that's only going to really have, if you've got a 10mm aerated core hybrid, they're typically 40% lighter than an SPC or a solid core. So you can expect 40% less strength in those joints. So, to have the same strength as a 6mm hybrid, you'll need a 10mm aerated core one. And that's not to say that that'll be a bad product, but just don't buy it thinking it's a 10mm hybrid. It's a 10mm hybrid for what it is. It's not a 10mm solid core hybrid. But anyway, any questions, you're always welcome to contact us at Online Flooring Store. Throw us a line, and we love talking about this stuff. So onlineflooringstore.com.au.